And high lurking like you trying to dodge the serpent. Black muzzle, no turban. The petty cash ain't even worth it.
Mic check 1 2 1 2.
We hit the floor, badly working. Good heart, but I ain't perfect. I'll play the part. I would like to.
Yes, sir. Welcome to the RealChampTalk basketball podcast. Before I get started and introduce my guests, I just want to give a shout out to all my subscribers so far. Please go to the YouTube channel, like, subscribe, comment, share, all that. All right, got some amazing guests coming. Sit down, have great conversations with, and I'm gonna go ahead and get rock and rolling. This is my first actual virtual interview that I'm doing. So as I go along, I'll be sharing information where you can get the merch at. Shout out to Madhouse, my cousin Xavier doing this thing where you can get the gear. You know what I'm saying? All that good stuff. Definitely want to give a shout out to my guys at previous interviews I did with, Tu Holloway, AJ Price, Calvin Brown, Ash. Shout out to those guys because they kind of laid down the foundation for what I'm doing right now. All right, shout outs to the wife and all that for her support. All right, so make sure you guys go to that YouTube channel, RealChampTalk Basketball Podcast. All right, without further ado, gonna introduce my guest. All right, this is early 80s basketball we talking. All right. Long Island Lutheran's finest, all right, University of Maryland, we taking it back, all right, my OG, all right, this guy has guided me, all right, when I was a youngster, those that know me, summer after summer, I would work at Long Island Lutheran basketball camp, and this man right here guided me, gave me the blueprint for the things I was going to experience in college, and definitely helped guide me through my younger years, all the way up to adult, even now, always dropping gems, always learning, and he's helped countless amount of guys, not just me, but I'm pretty sure a lot of guys will speak up and say the same thing, that this man has definitely helped guys make it through. All right, I would like to introduce to the world, all right, Steve Rivers, aka Big Rib, in the building. How are we doing, Rib? Welcome to the show. All right, let's get up there.
My man.
You know what I'm saying?
My man Dana.
Send an ovation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Dana. It's good seeing you. God bless you, man. I'm glad everything is going well. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you and talk to how many people we can reach out to, and just know that God has been good. And we're going to continue to have victory in our lives.
Absolutely, man. Everything's good, man. This is about to be a legendary show, man. It's glad to have you here. And definitely got to pay homage to your era. And just, you know what I'm saying? It's only right that this first episode is I get a chance to chop it up with you and get into your history and stuff like that. So let's set it off. Let the people know where you grew up at. Like, what age did you start taking a liking into basketball? Who was the, like your early influences to the game of basketball?
Okay, well, I'm really old school guy. I was born in 1962 in Atlanta, Georgia, and in 1973 my family moved us up to New York, and we started out in Crown Heights, Brooklyn, right there on Eastern Parkway. Mm-hmm. And I remember my first experience playing basketball, believe it or not, right across the street from the Jewish synagogue, there was an old little yard, and I was still a little young and really didn't know where to go in terms of the park. But I remember watching TV, and I used to watch the Knicks and the Celtics, and I was totally enamored with this guard that I know everybody knows about named JoJo White. This guy, man, could do it all. He had the quick release shot. He was just smooth. He played with John Havlicek and Tommy Heisen, all these guys. And he used to have this quick release jumper that I remember. So I remember going across the street. Believe it or not, my first experience playing basketball was on a garbage can. And if, when you're young and everything, you have this experience pretending and doing all these things. Hey, I'm JoJo White, and I'm going around and I'm shooting these jumpers, and it wasn't at a regular rim, it was in the garbage can, but it didn't matter.
City for you. That's New York City.
My mindset. Yeah, just had that experience. But anyway, in 1973, we moved out to Uniondale, out in Long Island. And that's when my family and I were the first black family on the block. And Uniondale was really a nice experience. You know, the people there were nice. Of course, you had to deal with a few things, but I went to Northern Parkway, and that's when we first got involved with the PBC, the Police Boys Club, and that's when we were actually in the gym playing basketball, and I just loved. That's all I thought about. Besides school, I just wanted to shoot and practice and dribble and all these different things. And later on, okay, once I graduated from Northern Parkway, went to Lawrence Road Junior High School. Those of you that know where that is, that's really, even though it's the town of Uniondale, it's really on the cusp of Uniondale and Hempstead. So I went there and graduated out of there in 1977, and I got a look from a gentleman who was already at Long Island Lutheran by the name of Mike Milligan, you know, real Long Island Lutheran legend, who also happened to be living in Uniondale, and he saw me playing, and he said, well, why don't you go, you know, why don't you come up to the gym? We got some open runs there and everything, and I said, okay. So I went up there a couple of Sundays with him and met the legendary coach, Reverend Vischer, Ed Vischer. And from there, it was just history. I went there and played really well my 10th grade year. And then I was really blessed. I went to Long Island Lutheran summer basketball camp. And at that time on Long Island, it was really like the best camp. You know, you talk about 5-star and all these other camps. But Long Island Lutheran basketball camp was legendary. I mean, you name it, the who's who of Long Island.
Right, so you started going there.
So I did really well.
You started going there
I started going there my sophomore year. I went there. I began going there in 1977.
So where did you go? All right, so 77 is when you started going to Lou High. So freshman year, where did you go to school your freshman year?
Well, at that time, Lawrence Road was 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. So I was at Lawrence Road for my 9th grade year. And really, that's when it really started, because believe it or not, we gave Lawrence Road their first undefeated team. And it was myself. There was a gentleman that I played with by the name of Dwight Gibson. Dwight Gibson went on to have a stellar career at Uniondale High School and won a scholarship to Penn State. Believe it or not, you know who else was on that team? Gary McLean. Now, I know you know who Gary McLean is. He's the point guard that went on and had that legendary game against Georgetown. He went to Villanova. Yeah, we all played together on that Lawrence Road
so
team.
y'all had a crew. So now,
and so,
on that Lawrence Road team, did you catch like any flack from, like, you know, you growing up, you playing with your boys and stuff like that? Obviously, you got your friends that you play with. Did you catch any flack from your friends? Like, no, like, why you going the private school route? Like, yo, stay here, come to me. How'd you kind of handle that, deal with that?
Yeah, it was a little tough, because when you're growing up in Uniondale and you had all your friends and they said, oh man, we can do some really, really good things. And so they really wanted me to come. But see, Mike Milligan told me that the program at Lutheran was nationally known. It was a small school. The academics, which really impressed my mother and father at that time, was really tight. The basketball itself, they were traveling. They were playing all the best teams on Long Island and then playing monster teams outside of the New York area, like DeMatha, and then upstate you would go to play Mount Vernon. And so I was like, wow. So I said, you know, this is a great experience for me to enhance my game. So I ended up going to Long Island Lutheran my 10th grade year, and I had a pretty stellar, you know, start off. You know, I went there and started off as a 6th man. And that summer, I went to Long Island Lutheran basketball camp, you know, with all the legendary players at that time, Matt Doherty and Brett Barup, who went to Kentucky. And I mean, you name it. Tom Emma, who went on and played at Duke. All these guys. I mean, you go out to Suffolk County, you talk about Dave Russell and West Korea. I mean, all these legendary guys. And it just made me better. And so we played, and my junior and senior year, you know, I really, really was blessed, because I had some very, very great experiences playing against guys, and I did well to the point where myself and Matt Doherty, who was at that time at Holy Trinity and went on and played with that national championship team with Michael Jordan, we were the only 2 juniors who who made Long Island, all
Wow.
Long Island. So I made all Long Island my junior and senior year.
Right.
And it was just a great experience. We would go into the city. I played at Riverside Church with the likes of Mike Moses and Roosevelt Chapman and Gary Springer. Oh man, Steve Burt, who went
Steve
on had a
Bird.
stellar career at Iona. I mean, these were power squads, and I think myself and Matt were the only guys from Long Island that was able to go into the city and play with these
Right.
guys. So my junior year, like I said, I did pretty well, and I was recruited by over 100 schools, and I finally had made a choice that I was going to go to either University of Maryland, I was going to go either to Providence or the University of
Okay, so
Virginia,
before
and so I
you get
went
there,
there.
so your sophomore year, six
Mhm.
men of the year, when did it start clicking in your mind that you know what, I could take my game to the next level and perhaps get a basketball scholarship to play like D1 and stuff like that? Because like your era, like that's competitive. You naming guys, it's a lot of hoopers and it's real
Yeah,
competitive and it's tight. So when did it start clicking for you in high school? You realized like,
it really, yeah, it started like right after my sophomore year. Lutheran used to have these open gyms. You know how many people have these open gyms, and it used to be. I never forget. Mike would come and pick me up, and we would drive up to Lutheran, and they would have an open gym on Sunday afternoons about 3 o'clock, and we would play full court basketball. Wayne McCoy, uh, Jeff Rulin, okay, who went on. He was I forgot what high school he went to. It was out in Suffolk County. I mean, guys that I was like, wait a minute, because at that time I was like, wait a minute, you got guys here 6'7", 6'8", 6'9", and I'm like, who are these cats, man?
yeah,
I'm like, this dude's kind of big, man. And so I learned through trial and error. I went through that ring of fire. You get out there on some courts, you play, and basketball is a game when you play against older guys. You're going to take your bumps and bruises, but at the same time now, you're also developing and playing your game. And at that time, I was very, very lucky because I was very quick. And because in my early years, just going back a little bit, my father was a social worker. So we first moved out to Long Island. He had a job working in Roosevelt, and his office was right next to Centennial Park.
okay,
I never forget this. And I would go with him to his job, during my off time. And while he was working, I had a basketball, and I used to go over there to Centennial Park, right on that court where they had them legendary summer league games. And I would go there, and of course, you know who I was emulating, right? I was emulating JoJo White, and I would get out there for hours from the whole time that he was working from 9 to 5. I mean, I took a break to go back and say, Dad, give me a few dollars, man. Let me get something to eat, man. It's hot. And I would get out there and just shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. So, that being said, I was lucky enough to develop a nice little jump shot. And I'm pretending especially with the quick release that JoJo White had. And I was shooting, and it really helped me because I was quick and I was able to shoot a nice jump shot. And now, even today, if you're a guard and you know how to shoot, man, look, you can do some things. Case in point, look at Steph
right,
Curry. Look at Kyrie Irving. All these guys, when, anybody that's out there playing now, you want to work on your dribbling and everything. But if you want to go to the next level and you have a jump shot,
yeah,
oh, yeah,
that takes you to
that's
the next
that's
level.
that's going to help.
So you
So,
came into high school, so
oh,
you
yeah.
had that jump shot, you had things going for you. Um, so your sophomore year, 6 man year, how did you guys finish up your sophomore year? Because you obviously played with,
Myself,
you went to a good school where you was
hmm
good players. Was
and
Bill
we
Wennington on that team your sophomore year?
no, Bill Wennington didn't come into my senior year. He was a junior. He was from Canada, and he came and he was very, very raw. He came during my senior year, but my sophomore year, once again, played with Mike Milligan, played with Phil Weber, who is now an assistant coach. I forgot what team it was. I think it's the Phoenix Suns. He's been around. Actually, it might be the Jazz now. played with him. He had gone on to NC State. I remember playing with Audie Matthews. I remember playing with Dan Dunn. Dan Dunn was a 6'11" guy who was really, really raw at that time, but he won a scholarship playing over at Seton Hall. Just a number of wonderful, wonderful players right there on Long Island. I remember there was a guy in Hempstead by the name of James Davis who we called Grass. He was there. I mean, you name it. John Gilchrist was there. I mean, it was just, unbelievable talent. And that was just at Lutheran.
Right.
All right, and you're talking about playing with these guys every single day. John Mitchell, point guard from Roosevelt. All these guys, and you know what's so funny? You know, at Lutheran, it's made up of guys from all different parts
Right.
of Long Island. I was from Uniondale. John Mitchell's from Roosevelt. Later on, my senior year, I also got a chance to play with another kid from Hempstead who I think was one of the best guys that ever came out of Hempstead, a guy by the name of Rob James. Rob James was able to shoot that ball with his right and left hand. And then, of course, Bill Wennington, Lou Watson. I mean, and then just that open gym that I was talking about. You had guys from everywhere that would come and play ball. I remember there was a guard by the name of Stan Wilcox when I was a sophomore. He was at North Babylon. He came during the summer. Tom Emma would come. And I mean, if you can just imagine a gym full of guys that would
Everybody's
just,
nice. Everybody's got game.
Everybody's nice. Everybody's nice. You know? And so, you know, it's one of them things where you played your best and you really went out there and you sweated because you played a game to 11 full court. If you lost, you know how Lehigh Summer League, summertime games are at halftime. If you get bumped, that's it, man. You might get lucky if you get on the court one more time. You better go over there on the side and shoot a few jumpers because that game, if it was tight, it was tight. And if it wasn't, you was getting bumped. So, yeah, you know, so that being said, it was really about the exposure. And then I thank God that I had a father who was very, very supportive during my time. He grew up in Brownsville, Brooklyn. He went to Thomas Jefferson, and he played basketball at Morris Brown College down in Atlanta. He made the Hall of Fame down there. But he said, Steve, it's good to play out here in Long Island, but I want to take you into Brooklyn, into Manhattan. That's when I got introduced to Riverside Church. And he would take me to the park and just sit there. He would read the newspaper, and I would just get out there and play. And because it was a whole different thing when you went out and played.
Right. So what year did you what year did you start playing? What year did you start playing Riverside?
Riverside Church, I started playing my junior year.
Okay.
My junior year, I went out there with the coach, Mr. Lorch, Coach Lorch. And that's when I met Mike Moses and Steve Burt and Gary Springer, Roosevelt Chapman. I mean, you name it. I mean, there's so many guys I met, and we got a chance to go play over in Tucson, Arizona. I never forget. I'm sitting here as a young guy. I'm like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. Went over to Europe and played in Yugoslavia, Provo, Utah. I mean, we just all kind of different exposure that I had, and playing against these guys and playing with these guys really, really enhanced my game going into my junior and then senior year. And I never thought about making any accolades. I just wanted to play basketball.
So,
but my junior year,
I was going to say, so your junior year really took off for you. So I guess that experience playing in Riverside during the summer and playing against tough competition kind of just like steamrolled right into your junior year season, and that's when you started getting buckets. And at this time, we gotta. There's no 3-point. We gotta keep in mind, there's no 3-point line, and you was putting up numbers. Had it been the 3-point line, do you think your number would?
Had it been had it been a 3-point line, I was average about 30 a game. Kidding me, man? I'm not.
No. You get a bucket. Listen, we got to consider that early 80s for guys who was scoring a lot, and a guy like you that could shoot, and you pulling from the parking lot, that not getting counted by threes, that adds up, man.
That's an amazing Yeah, that was amazing. You know what? Just stepping to the side from it, think about it. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You look at his game and you look how he's held on to that scoring record, and now you have LeBron James and whoever else in the future is going to break that record. But you can't forget Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It's all connected. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar held that record when it was all, and everything he scored was
Twos.
straight
Yeah, straight twos.
twos. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? So think about that. LeBron, all these guys, great, great players that will go down as one of the best players in the world, um, got the help of shooting 3-point shots. But Kareem was making all those points just shooting twos. Now that's connected, I connect that with, imagine if I had a 3-point shot.
Cause you
Now
was
just
putting up
imagine.
buckets your junior year when you kind of like
Yeah.
broke out and you started getting,
Hmm.
deep, start getting letters and stuff like that. Obviously, you got your parents' influence, making sure
Right.
that your education, you was getting your schoolwork done. So going into your
Hmm.
senior year, right, playing with that crew. Just name some of the like your junior and senior year. Who were like some of the teams that like stand out to you that you guys faced and some like the great players that you went up against
Hmm.
your junior and your senior year of high school? Because you guys was like winning.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. The top team of all time in high school we played against was Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon had the
McCray
McCray
brothers.
brothers, Rodney and Scooter. Um, my junior year, we played against this team from DC called Mackin, Mackin, Mackin High School, and they had this quick guard even as a youngster. And I was like, who is this guy? And I got a chance to know him later on in college, and really nice guy. But they had a guard by the name of Johnny
Johnny
Dawkins.
Dawkins.
You know Johnny Dawkins? Yeah, Johnny Dawkins went to Duke, and you know the things he was doing. You know what I'm saying? He went there. My God, we played against really tough teams in Pennsylvania. I remember this one team called Lackawanna. Um, we went out to at that time. Matter of fact, my junior year, we had our first experience going overseas. We had this exchange program, and we went over to Sweden, and we played in this tournament out in Sweden where we were playing against European players. Um, but it was an amazing junior year. The probably one of the toughest guys I ever played against. Well, actually, there were two. One of them was Tom Emma. A lot of people don't remember Tom Emma. Tom Emma played at Manhasset High School. Now, you talking about a guy that had handle and had a jump shot. I remember he led Long Island in scoring. He averaged about 30 a game. But I remember we played Manhasset, and I mean, he was amazing. Another guy that was tough my junior year, um, Dave Russell. Dave Russell played at Bellport High School, him and West Korea. They were really tough. And at that time, because Long Island was crazy. Every team was good. We were independent, independent league playing at Lutheran, but Roosevelt, Hempstead, uh, Baldwin, Freeport, Malvern High
Malvern was tough
School,
back.
just in Nassau County, Manhasset, even Massapequa. All these guys were really, really good teams, and he went out to Suffolk County. So I mean, I was surrounded by teams that I remember. We went out to my junior year. We went out to Bridgehampton, and they had a all Long Island player by the name of Carl Johnson. And if anybody knows about going out to Bridgehampton, they play in a gym that is about the size of a shoebox. But those cats would press
All up
you
in your face.
and press you and press you. Yeah, 90 minutes of hell. Like, I used to
Yeah.
have at Arkansas. Man, I'm telling you, I mean, everybody was good. Brett Barrup, who was 6'9" and went to Kentucky. And of course, at Long Island Lutheran, our rivals,
Holy
Holy
Trinity.
Trinity, when they had Matt Doherty. St. Dominic's was good. They had Richard Dye and they had Tim Kempton. Tim Kempton went on and played, big 6'10" guy, went and played at Notre Dame and then had a couple of years playing at with the Phoenix
Okay.
Suns. So junior year was
Right.
powerful.
Right. So
Powerful.
now, did you feel like going into so now when you start getting recognition, right? You have a breakout year, you go all Long Island your junior year, going into your senior year. Do you feel like you had like a target on your back? Because now your name is starting to ring bells a little bit. Do you feel like guys was like
Yeah.
starting to trying to come at you and try to take your name and all that?
Oh yeah. We went, man, let me tell you something. They had this one tournament in the fall at Long Island Lutheran called Top 70. And Top 70 was just a weekend showcase where you played Friday night and you played Saturday night. And at that time, every coach from around the country was there scouting. You had Jim Boeheim from Syracuse. You had Dean Smith. You had Terry Holland from Virginia. You had Bobby Knight from Indiana. I mean, you name it. Lute Olson from Arizona. When he started, when he really started early, but at that time, Coach Mike Krzyzewski from Duke. Okay, he was just starting his career at Duke. All these guys would be around the court. And of course, they have your name on a sheet and what number you were, and everybody was coming at you. I had guys coming at me, that were decent players. So I had to hold my own. One of the things I loved about Long Island basketball is that there was no letting back for a time, no rest. You had to get out there and you had to play. There were a lot of guys out there that were so good. I remember Jeff Stevenson from Roosevelt. Um, all these guys were just excellent basketball players. Travis Griffin from Hempstead. Um, my friends in
Right.
Uniondale, Greg Rogers and Donnell Smith, and my best friend up to this day, Rob Williams, all played at Uniondale with Dwight Gibson. They were powerful, and they would all we all
Right.
loved each other. But when we got on the court, you know how Bernard King said, "We're going to be friends when we're off the
On the,
court,
on
but
the
once
court,
we
it's
step
war.
over
That's
that
just what it
line,
is. Like,
yeah, it's war." Exactly, exactly. And so, yeah, the competition going into senior year was very, very tough, but we held our own. This is when I was lucky enough to meet Bill Wennington, big 7 foot guy, just big and broad. You know who actually made him better? There's a kid that grew up in Roosevelt by the name of Lou Watson. He's like 6'5", and if you talk to Bill will tell you up to this day, if it wasn't for Lou Watson, Bill wouldn't have developed his game. Um, that's when I met Rob James. There was a legendary player at Lutheran by the name of Reggie Carter. They named the
yeah,
Amelman
Reggie
Center
Carter,
after
yeah.
Reggie Carter. His his nephew was a sophomore when I was a senior that played there, Darryl Carter. Um, I had teammates, Mert Sells, and then Derek Sells, who's now a lawyer. He went on and played at Dartmouth. So whether or not we were playing uh, in school or out of school, I was just
Right.
surrounded with talent every year,
Right. So
every
you
year.
start getting your college letters. Did you have like a dream school at that time, like that you wanted to go to, and like what was like your top? What were like?
It's interesting that you asked that. My father was a big Michigan fan. He loved the University of Michigan. He really, really wanted me to go to Michigan, but to me, it was too far. One of the important things about playing basketball, especially if you're going to make a choice about going to college, the very first thing you want to worry about is where you're going to go so you can get that college degree. But basketball wise, you want to go where your family is be able to come see you play, um, not being that far away from home. So that's why I limited my choices to Maryland, Syracuse, Providence, and the University of Virginia. And I went to visit all those schools, and they were really, really good schools. Providence was coming into their own, getting ready to join at that time was the emergence of the
Big
Big
East,
East,
real Big
which
East.
now was just powerful. Yeah, so I went there. It was nice. Virginia was nice. I got a chance to meet Ralph Sampson, when I went to visit that school, and it was really good. I went to Syracuse, Jim Boeheim, one of the best coaches of all time. I got a chance to meet Red Bruin and all those guys who were a year ahead of us, and got a chance to meet even a good friend of mine up to this day, Eugene Waldron, who ended up going to Syracuse. But let me tell you something. I counted Syracuse out. It's a funny story. Went up to Syracuse, and it was a great school. They had the Carrier Dome, large crowd and everything. And I remember, I never forget, they took me to see Michael Jackson. He was somewhere in the nearest area, right? And it was nice. Everything was nice until I went back outside, and I felt that Syracuse,
That upstate cold hit different. It hit different.
And you know, look, if you've been upstate during the winter time, and I felt like the hawk was cutting my ear off. You know how you have a checklist? Syracuse, nah, ain't nothing happening, man. Too cold. Hey, none of that, man. I'm serious, and I love the people there. They were wonderful, but it was just too cold. Then I went to Maryland.
So what was the deciding factor that what stood out to you about Maryland that made you ultimately like choose going to Maryland?
Well, I was I love the Washington, D.C. area. Maryland was only 4 hours away. I thought about Maryland. I said, this is good. This is a nice school. I got a chance to see one of New York City's legendary players, Albert King, who is at Maryland. They had another player that we all know about now by the name of Buck Williams, who went on and had a stellar career playing with the Portland Trail Blazers and then the New Jersey Nets. Then they have a player there that took me on. He was like a big brother. And even up to this day, I tell people all the time, they don't know about him, but they knew about him down in Bmore, down in Baltimore. There was a player by the name of Ernie Graham, 6'8", who could do it all. Okay, he could dribble, he could shoot, he could play defense, everything. And I liked the style that Maryland had. It was like more my style, just running up and down and playing fast-paced game and everything. And I loved the school. I went to the school, and it just so happened one of the guys who turned out to be like a brother to me was Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson was 2 years ahead of me. He was from Roman Catholic High School. He was a McDonald's All-American that played in Philadelphia. And I'll never forget, he took me one night to a probate show. And I said, what is a probate show? He said, okay. He said, let's go. So we went there, and it was Phi Beta Sigma. It was a fraternity at that time. And guess who was probating that night all by himself? Ronaldo Skeets Nehemiah.
Are you serious?
The legendary track runner who went on and even played played a wide receiver for the 49ers. And then I learned that with some other Long Island people there that didn't play basketball. You had Boomer Esiason, who played football. I think he was from Islip, but he was the quarterback there at that time. You see where, even now he's on the NFL commentating. And so when I saw all that, I was like, wow. I said, this is nice. And I was sold. I said, Mom, Dad, I want to go to University of Maryland.
All right. So now, high school is over with, right? Now we get into your D1 career, right? You're at Maryland, going into your freshman year, right? You gotta kind of reprove yourself over and over again, right? You're playing against everybody's nice at that level. What was your mindset going into your freshman year? How was that experience? Tell us about your freshman year.
It was Dana. It was truly an experience, because as good as you might think you are, when you go into school, you have to realize when you're going into the college level, there are guys there who are more experienced, guys who are just as quick. The biggest thing was the strength factor. Okay, I had to learn, because I never really was about weights or anything like that. But when you go to college, you're playing against guys, that are point guards that, sometimes look like running backs. You know what I'm saying? And you had to get out there and you had to get used to the physical part of the game. I never forget. And I was pretty good in terms of running and everything. I never forget, man. Look, the adjustment you have to make is that whatever running you did at Lutheran, you had to doubly do when you got to college. And I was lucky, because my senior year at Lutheran, I had the joy of playing under a legendary coach. Now he's just retired. Congratulations to him. Was Bobby McKillop, who's the coach at Davidson, who just retired. He was a coach at Lutheran. And he used to run us. He used to run us. And so, I'm going there at Maryland thinking, yeah, I'm going to be in shape. Man, we went out there, man, that first day, that preseason conditioning, we had to run like 2 miles. Then we had to run sprints. Then we had to go to the gym and lift weights and lift Nautilus. And then after that, we had to go and run. Man, I'll never forget. You know how you have training table after all of that? And myself, Herman Veal, a few of us who were freshmen at that time, we were like, man, look, okay. They're like, come on, guys, we're going to get something to eat. All of us ran right back to the room, stretched out. Like, that was crazy. You know what I'm saying? And so the physical part of it was the biggest adjustment that I had to make as a freshman. You deal with the psychological part of being away from your family and this and that, whatever, and it gave you opportunity to figure out exactly who you were. Luckily, when I went to Lutheran, and also my mother, who was a teacher at the New York City Board of Ed for like 37 years, she instilled in me the importance of schoolwork. And
what was your major?
So
What was your
I
major
didn't
at
have no
Maryland?
problems.
What was your major?
I was a government and politics
Okay.
major with a minor in sociology.
Okay.
So I got my degree. I was thinking, like, after it was all said and done, I was going to go and stay in the Washington, D.C. area and try to get a government job and this and that. So I liked government and politics at that time. And it ended up, my minor ended up being the biggest factor in my career after college, because I was a minor in sociology and ended up being a social studies teacher for a number of years with the New York City Board of Ed.
So you're
But yeah, that was the biggest adjustment, the physicality of it all, and then, man, freshman year, let me tell you something. We were blown away. We played Louisville at that time, and they had a player by the name of Darrell Griffin. I know you know about Darrell Griffin.
1984,
Man, we
80
went
through 81,
there.
your freshman year.
Oh yeah, they had a monster squad. We played against them, and I never forget. And I'm talking about, we were ranked like 3 in the nation at that time. So I'm like, getting adjusted to big crowds and this and that. And it was just amazing. And remember, we went out to Louisville, and we were ranked number 3, and we got humbled, man. They blew us off the court, man. It was crazy, man. You know what I'm saying? I was like, wow. And then later on that year, just playing in the ACC, which you can't tell me anything. I know people are going to argue, say Big East, Pac-10, Big 12, and all that stuff. The ACC at that time was amazing. You had North Carolina, you had North Carolina State, you had Georgia Tech, you had Clemson. I mean, all of
Talk
these
about some
teams,
of them road games, like playing in them environments. Like, how hostile was it, like, at that time?
Let me
Like,
go. You okay? Let me tell you something. Up to this day, the toughest gym to win, even now in 2022, you will not experience anything until you go to Duke University, Cameron Indoor Stadium. Okay, now I know you can see in the background. You see my couch, right? Imagine fans being right up
yeah.
on you. You're sitting on the bench, and they're over there, and they got their hands up, whoa! And then you look around, and guys jumping up and down. It felt like the place was
So
rocking.
when you
And I
actually played
mean,
it, it felt like you could feel like the floor like shaking.
it felt. You could feel it. It was like amazing. It was unbelievable. And then that Duke had these power teams. They had Eugene Banks, who's a legendary player that time out of Philadelphia. They had Vince Taylor. Tom Emma was already there. He was a year ahead of me. They had Mark Allery. All of these guys. I mean, they just had crazy, crazy teams. Then it wasn't the Dean Dome then. It was Carmichael Arena at the University of North Carolina. North Carolina was unbelievable. They had a guy my freshman year. They had a forward by the name of Al Wood. that a lot of people don't know about. Al Wood was nice. They had James Worthy. You know, they had the point guard Jimmy Black. He went to Cardinal Hayes, I believe, from the Bronx. I mean, they had, well, Matt, of course, you know, was there. I mean, my freshman year was just unbelievable. Georgia Tech, believe it or not, they had a nice team. They had a guy there that I played against that a lot of people don't realize. You talking about somebody that had a jumper. I know you know who about Mark
Mark
Price.
Price is crazy. Mark Price is crazy.
Mark Price is dead. Look, Mark Price, he was at that time, they weren't like nationally ranked, but Mark Price would J you down real nice, man. I'm serious. I'm serious. You know, freshman year, played against Notre Dame. Uh, John Paxson, who
John
played
Paxson.
with Michael Jordan at Notre Dame, he was nice. Uh, I mean, you name it. I mean, everybody at that time. I remember we played UCLA. They had Rocket Rod Forster and all those guys out there in UCLA. And then, of course, you go through your freshman year, and then you make the NCAA's, and then you run up against a team like Indiana, and you end up playing against Isaiah Thomas, and that was the most humbling experience in the world.
Talk
I
about
remember,
that
you
March
know, I tell
Madness
you guys
experience
during the
when you get
summer,
into the tournament. Like,
you know, I
right,
was quick. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I was quick. I was about 100. I was about 165 pounds, soaking wet, and so, but I was fast and I was quick. Man, we played University of Indiana, and I came off the bench and played against Isaiah Thomas. And now I'm talking about, listen, he was like a blur. Okay, and I'll never forget for the time that I was in the game. I'm sitting there and I'm down in my defensive stance and I'm looking impressive and everything. But you can best believe I was playing about 3 to 5 feet away from him because the coach told me, he said, "Listen, do not let him penetrate," because they had these big 6'10" guys, Landon Turner and Ray Tolbert. And then he can dish it out to his guards, Ted Kitchell and then Randy Whitman. And so I'm sitting there in my defensive stance, but I'm about 3 to 4 feet away from him. Say, yeah, if you're gonna beat me, you're gonna shoot that J on me and whatnot. But Isaiah Thomas was crazy. I mean, I'm sitting there nervous as I can be. You know, coming off the bench as a freshman and playing against him, and I never forget. They went on and won the national championship, and they ended our season my freshman year because they blew us out by about 30 points right there in Dayton, Ohio, man. That court, man. Look, blew us out nice too.
so your coach at the time when you got there, that was left.
Lefty Drizel.
How was your relationship with him? Like when you got there, how was he as a coach?
Um, it was okay. I had a better experience with the assistants, Sherman Dillard, who was really a nice coach. You know how sometimes when you look back and reflect, it could have been
Right.
better. It could have been better. To be very honest, if I had to do it all over again, um, I loved Maryland. I loved the school. I loved the academics. I don't think that I was given the opportunity to really showcase my talent the way I really did because it was kind of a
Right.
personality
Right. Right.
thing with coach. You know how you like even now, God has blessed me to be on this earth now 60 years. So, I don't want to say
Right. Right. Right.
anything,
Right. Right.
negative or anything like. Let's just say it wasn't what I dreamed of in terms of a player coach relationship. But the main thing that I got, and I had some nice careers now. I had some nice career games at Maryland, but it wasn't the way I dreamed it
Right, and
was
a
going
lot
to
of guys
be.
had that
You know what
story,
I'm
like when
saying?
you get to a school and it's not all cut out to
Hmm.
be because the coach, some guys like the coaches will hold your game hostage and not let you, you know what I'm saying, be able to showcase what you really can do and
Right.
give you the opportunity to like really, you know what I'm saying, go out there and shine. So y'all freshman year,
Exactly.
y'all did pretty good y'all freshman year. Y'all made it to the tournament. Obviously, y'all lost to the team
Hmm.
that went on to win the national championship. So as you go into your sophomore year,
Right.
81, 82, right? You got that freshman experience under your belt. Did you stay in Maryland during the summer, or did you come back up top to New York and start playing summer ball out there to
Good
get ready for
question.
your sophomore year? What was that like?
Great, great, great question. Academics was a big deal when you get to college because one of the dreams that I had, and I was able to reach that goal, was to graduate after 4 years. And so what happens is, on the average, you have to take 15 credits a semester. So at the end of 1 year, you'll have 30 credits, and 4 times 30 eventually at that time was 120 credits. Okay, something like that. So anyway, basketball was very, very taxing at that time. Very, very taxing. And so what I did all 4 of my years is I would take 12 credits during the school year, okay? And then when summertime came, I would take 6 credits. And so that way, no, excuse me, what was it? No, I would take 3 credits. I'd take 3 credits. And no, actually 6. I'm sorry. My
No,
mind
sorry,
is
sorry, sorry, sorry.
so then I would have, right, and so then I would be eligible because I would have enough credits during that year, during the end of that first year, to be able to be considered a sophomore. And I did that all 4 years. I would take 12 credits during a semester, and then you take 12 and 12, that's 24, and then I would take 6 credits during the summer, and that would be enough to push me on to the next year. And then I would work the other half. So that was one of the most, biggest experiences that I had because I was very close with my family. But once college came, you wanted to go to school, and then you wanted to be able to make a little money. So I used to work the basketball camp, and then the rest of the summer, then I had a job working at George Hyman Construction during the summers, and then I would get a chance to come home for maybe about a week in August, right before it was time to come back
Okay,
to
so
school.
when you was playing, did you play pickup ball during the summer, like out in the
Oh
like in the
yeah,
B-more
It-
area against like the OGs and stuff like that during the summer?
oh
I was those
yeah.
run.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. Oh boy, I'm glad you
Yeah.
brought that up. During the summer, they used to have a tournament in Washington D.C. called the Urban Coalition, and the Urban Coalition. Now, even up to this day, you talking about people talking about the
Yeah.
DMV, and I know why they're talking about the DMV because at that time we would go and play in the Urban Coalition, and you talking about talent. They had this one guy that a lot of people don't know about. You know how people talk about Kevin
Yeah.
Garnett, and they talk about all these guys 6'11", this and that. DC had a guy at that time by the name of Earl
Earl
Jones.
Jones.
Earl Jones was 6'11". Earl Jones, everything that Kevin Garnett did, Earl Jones did that and more. Okay? And yeah, he would be down the Urban Coalition. They had a player at that time who went to Gonzaga High School, and I think he went to Notre Dame by the name of Tom Sluby, a guy about 6'5", strong. Um, who used to come and play sometimes? Adrian
Adrian
Dantley
Dantley.
used to play down in the Urban Coalition. Again, I talked earlier about Johnny Dawkins, played in the Urban Coalition. Young kid at that time, behind us, okay, but had so much promise that went on and played with Johnny Dawkins at that time by the name of Tommy Amico, who's now the coach at Harvard. He played down the Urban Coalition.
Stacked.
Of course, at Maryland, yeah, at Maryland, you had Adrian Branch, my teammate. He was at DeMatha High School. And of course, Ernie Graham would take me during the summer to go down and play some basketball down in the Baltimore area, which was tough at that time. I tell people all the time, Baltimore, up to this day, and I know they've had, how they talk about a lot of these high school teams, and they say they were the greatest. When I went down to Baltimore, and it was my sophomore year, and I never forget, we played Penn State at the Civic Center down in Baltimore, and it was at that time I saw the greatest high school team of ever.
Dunbar
And they did a
action.
documentary on Dunbar. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa! Listen, Muggsy Bogues, Reggie
Yeah.
Williams, Dave Wingate, God bless his soul. Reggie Lewis. Reggie Lewis
The
was coming
bench.
off that
Oh
bench.
my God.
Okay. And I tell people here in 2022, I know they look at Mount Verdi and all these guys out in California and they listen, Baltimore Dunbar was the greatest high school
Ever
basketball
assembled.
team I've ever seen. And I'm
And
talking about I played against
and you're
legendary teams.
this at this time you're a sophomore at college,
And I'm in
and you're like,
college.
yo, this school is
Yes,
crazy.
listen, Yeah, I played against Mount Vernon in high school. I played against Tollentine. They had the legendary, my man that I keep in touch with now, Ernie Myers, who played at NC State. And I'm telling you, all of these teams, that Baltimore Dunbar team was amazing. I mean, by halftime, the score they were up by like 30 points.
Yeah.
Man, look,
Blowing
I
cats
tell
out the
people all the
water.
time up to this day, I haven't seen a team like that. Yeah, you know. So I say all that to say, I had wonderful experiences during the summer, and that helped me also. You know what I'm saying? Even when you're in college, playing Urban Coalition, going down to Baltimore, uh, I started. I hated lifting weights, man. I really did, man. I didn't like that. The coaches say go over there and lift weights. I say okay, and I do a little Norless and stuff like that. But I didn't want. I was scared about losing my flexibility in terms of
Right.
shooting as well as running and being quick and everything. I didn't want to gain too much weight and everything like that. I think if when I look back on it, I think that if I would have lifted a few more weights, it would have changed things. But
Right.
that's neither here nor there
Right.
now.
So your sophomore year, this is 81, 82.
Hmm.
Uh, is this? Do you run into Michael Jordan this year? The 81, 82. Your sophomore year?
Oh man, let me tell you
That
something.
North Carolina
I
team?
never forget. We stayed. Yeah, yeah. We stayed at Maryland. We stayed at Ellicott Hall on campus, and I never forget. Michael Jordan came to visit
Oh, he did. Oh, he
Maryland.
came
He
to
came to
visit
visit
Maryland.
Maryland, and yeah, he came to visit Maryland. And let me tell you something. I remember him walking into the dorm, and you know how Allen Iverson said that when the first time he saw Jordan, and he said on the
He
court
had
in
like
the
a
NBA, and he said,
Leroy
you know how
glow.
people talk about like
Yeah.
that aura. I don't know what it was. There was some. I wouldn't say it was an aura, but there was something about him. There was he just exuded confidence. Now he's deciding. I know he probably decided, look, man, I'm gonna make these visits, man, and all that. But I'm
Right,
going to
right, right, right.
Carolina. But I never forget him walking on campus, and he had an aura about him then. I tell people all the time, he had, you know how when people have it, when they say they,
And
and
you,
you
that's
saw
what I'm
it,
saying.
and you
Like
didn't
you
even
saw
see it,
at
you
that
didn't even
time,
see him play it.
right? Like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
was like, yo, like he's got it.
yeah. He's got it, and coming from where I came from and seeing the things that I see and playing against the guys that I played, I didn't understand. I said, there's something about this guy, man. And when he tells a story about how Dean Smith held
Right.
him back, that was really,
Cause
really
they had
true.
a they had
He
a
was,
crew,
I
man.
mean, Michael Jordan, no, was it Al? No, Michael Jordan, Jimmy Black, Matt Doherty, James Worthy, and then another guy who was amazing. I got a chance to play against him in high school. Was a center, Sam
Mm,
Perkins. He was from
okay.
upstate New York. You're talking about a guy that was
Left
6'10",
stroking.
but his
Yeah.
arm, he was like 7'4". You know what I'm saying? And I mean, amazing, amazing players, amazing teams. But Michael Jordan was something that even up to this day, and I tell people, we can all argue about it. That maybe we'll save
Right.
that for another time. But Michael
Right.
Jordan was
So
amazing,
you seen it first
amazing.
up close first. So like I said, so
Yes.
your sophomore year, you guys didn't do as well as your freshman year, so you guys made it to the NIT. Who did you guys face?
Yeah, we made the NIT. We won the first game. We played against Tennessee Chattanooga, and they had Gerald Wilkins at that time. We beat them. That was no problem. Uh, only problem is, man, very next game, man, we played at the University of Georgia. And I got to tell this, man. Played against a guy, Georgia, by the name of Dominic Wilkins, man. At that time on Georgia, you had Dominic Wilkins. You had another McDonald's All American out of New York City that a lot of people don't know about. He went on and played with the Indiana Pacers
Vern
by the name
Fleming.
of Vern Fleming, 6'5" and smooth. Okay, and then You had, God bless his soul, because he just passed away not too long ago. You had Eric Marbury of the Marbury Brothers. Everybody talks about Steph.
So
Let
it
me tell you
was
something.
Eric
Eric
Marbury, Verb
Marbury.
Fleming, Dominic
Eric
Williams.
Marbury. Eric Marbury is before Stephen came along. Eric Marbury had game. You know what I'm saying? He had game. And so our sophomore year, we went down and we happened to play on at the University of Georgia. And let me tell you something. Um, it's not even fair that some people have these type of physical talents. I remember we played against him, and you know how like you see on TV when somebody jumps, and you're like, wait a minute, man, it's something. This is not normal, man. You know how you hear that sound like when he jumped, you hear like I never forget. I never forget. He was it was a foul line situation. He was underneath, and the ball came off the rim, and it was like a rocket. He was like, and he grabbed the rebound. All this was over the rim, man. Crazy. You know what I'm saying? Dominic Wilkins was a freak of nature.
Right,
I tell people, it's one thing. You know how you can see things
right.
on
But when you
TV,
see it on the
and people can
court for
tell you
yourself,
this
it's like,
on the court. This guy jumped out of the gym. I thought I saw Red Bruin. I remember he went on to Syracuse. He played at Monte Cristi, and I thought he could jump. My God from heaven, Dominic
Dominique was like the
Wilkins was.
highest.
I mean,
That's the highest.
I think the only person that really, and this is including Jordan, the only guy that I think that had hops similar to to Dominic Wilkins was probably Vince Carter. But Dominic Wilkins, because the thing about it is, and you saw it in the NBA dunk contest. This guy not only jumped high, but he jumped with intensity and
Yeah.
power. You
Under is
understand
like,
what I'm
he was
saying?
like,
I mean,
yeah.
would dunk the ball fierce, fierce. And so, as a result of us playing them, that was the end of my junior year. That was the end of the junior season.
But no, that was
That was it, man.
that was your sophomore year, right? The NIT? Sort of.
Yeah, sophomore year. I'm sorry, I said junior year. It was on the end of my
Okay.
sophomore year. Oh, okay.
So now we're
Fast
going
forward.
so now we're going into your
Junior year.
to your junior year now, right? So now you got
Yes,
now
my
that
junior
junior year.
year was probably
I did my
my best.
homework. I seen that your minutes increased your junior year, and you guys had a good year. You guys made it to the tour. So
Mhm.
talk about your junior year. Do you feel like that was like kind of like your breakout year at college?
My junior year, in my opinion, yeah, my junior year was clearly my best year in college because I was getting used to the game and everything. And my claim to fame, or my 15 minutes of fame, as anybody likes to say, happened during my junior year. We played against NC State, and I was very upset during that year because I wasn't playing as much as I thought I would. And I remember one game afterwards, and I was just very, very upset. Uh, so what I did was I made my mind up. I said, let me stop feeling sorry for myself. So I went out and practiced, and every day I was just playing hard. I was going out there and just shooting and playing defense and passing or whatever. We played NC State. Now, NC State, as you know, was the eventual national champions. Their backcourt was amazing. Derek Wittenberg and Sidney Lowe. They had Cozell McQueen. They had Lorenzo Charles from New York. They had a power squad. Anyway, we played them, and that was my best year because that particular game was the greatest game I ever had in college when I scored 29 points. I tell everybody, you know how when you're upset and you're like, man, I don't
Yeah.
care what nobody say. Look, he had put me in. I remember he put me in with like 8 minutes left in the first half. They had 20-minute halves. He would put me in. He put me into 8 minutes in the first half, and then took me out with 3 minutes left. So I only played 5 minutes. At the end of the first half, man, I had 18 points, man. Did three. You know how you get it. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, run this up. Nah, man,
Straight bucket. You was feeling it.
going
You was
up,
feeling
man.
it.
I
And
was feeling it. Yeah, I was feeling
this
it.
is
So
still no 3-point line.
No, no, that was a three
Okay,
point line
okay,
at
okay,
that time.
okay.
There was a 3 point line. Yeah, they that was the year they was experimenting with it, and then took it back out the
Got it.
next year. But I mean, I had a phenomenal game. I ended up that game having 29
Mm.
points, and that was my
Yeah.
so-called claim to fame, uh, my junior year. And played had some other great games. Experienced my first set of dunks, my junior year. A couple of breakaway
Yeah, yeah.
banks. You know
Gotta
what I'm
get that
saying?
in.
Um, yeah. And then, I mean, successful year. Made the NCAA's. Uh,
So,
then we went down to Houston, Texas.
okay.
Oh,
Talk
yeah,
about that
I
Houston
gotta tell the
squad.
story, man.
Yeah, gotta talk about that Houston squad.
Five slammer jammer, man. Listen, Olajuwon, Drexler. Look, I'm talking about the smallest guy on that lineup was like 6'5", and like these dudes were like, I was like, wait a minute, man, there's something wrong, man, because these guys are like 6'5". The backcourt average was like 6'5", and I'm talking about not only 6'5", but 6'5", and like linebackers. Olajuwon at that time, I was like, man, this dude is unbelievable. Clyde Drexler flying all over the place, dunking on cats. And we played down in Houston, and their team um, was phenomenal. I mean, they were phenomenal. They beat us, and even up to this day, that everybody talks about the Villanova Georgetown game. But the greatest game that I believed was definitely when NC State won that championship, and I was so happy. And let me tell you why. Um, Jim Valvano, God bless his soul. Jim Valvano was one of the most beautiful human beings I have ever met. Forget basketball coach. Forget the fact that he won the national championship, and I was very happy for him. This guy was wonderful, a wonderful human being, and his family has Long
Oh
Island
wow.
roots, you know. But yeah,
Your junior year.
yeah, junior year was
So
was
now
was
your junior
definitely.
year is that the year? Because obviously
Mm.
when you went to Maryland, you played with Buck Williams, and I'm gonna get you to name some of the other guys that were like some of your team.
No, that was my
So
freshman
you,
year. My freshman year, we play. I played with Albert King and Buck Williams because that year Albert was a senior and Buck was a junior, but Buck went hardship that year. So I remember Buck went, I think, number 3 in the draft, and Albert went 10. That year it was 19, I believe 1981. Yeah, 1981, that draft. So I only got a chance to play with
okay,
them
so you
one
got it
year.
in 1 year. So your junior year is that the year you played with
Hmm.
Len Bias?
Yeah, that's when
Yeah,
Lenny
yeah, let
B,
it
man,
be.
came into the
So
scene, man. Came. Now,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. All the rest of
Go
so
ahead. I'm
Len
listening.
Bias, obviously legendary. What was he like as a teammate? Like coming in as a freshman, did he have like was the hype crazy for him coming into school? Like was it because there's no social media at the time?
It wasn't. Believe it or not, he wasn't highly recruited coming out of
Really?
high school. He really wasn't. And you know why? Because he was very raw. He was extremely raw. One of the things that people didn't realize about Lenny is that he had the urge to play, but he was just learning the game. I don't even think he realized. But one of the things that he had was the fact that he jumped out of the gym also. But it was a different kind other than Dominic Wilkins or whatever. This boy jumped, and it was like one of those power jumps. And I don't know if I'm really explaining that clear enough, but he was amazing. Um, he was a nice guy, very nice guy. When he came on the court, he was very intense. He reminded me a lot of Bernard
Hmm.
King because he was the nicest
Off the
guy
court.
off the
But once
court,
you got on court,
but on the court, mean. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, just mean, just like that Bernard King
so he just got
intensity,
there. So
and
he got there his freshman
just knowing
year,
him,
and it just started clicking.
right? He clicked. He didn't really play that much, I mean, he played, but you didn't see anything. You start seeing things starting around his sophomore year. But you knew you. It's like, you know how when you see something, it's like, you know what? If this boy works on
Mm-hmm.
his game, he's going to be tough. He's going to be tough. And Lenny was just that kind of guy. And by the time I was a senior and he was a sophomore, you could see that, my God, this boy is going to
Right.
be treacherous one day.
So like in the practices and
You
stuff,
have
like
no
you
idea.
see like
Listen,
Howard dunks and just he just had it
yeah,
all.
Howard dunks. Listen, Lenny. It was scary because Lenny was 6'8",
Mm-hmm.
and you know how if somebody takes like a chisel and a hammer, a mallet, and they chisel something. I mean, this kid. Everybody talks about LeBron James, right, and
Yeah,
how
went
big
by
he
a
is.
monster.
Lenny was chiseled he looked like an Adonis, right? And you saw that later on in his career at Maryland. But this boy jumped. You know how, like, when you're playing basketball and they teach you when you're shooting a jump shot to go up and down on a
At least at
dime.
your highest point.
Okay, you're supposed to come up and go down, and the same thing, come up and down on a dime. His jump shot was straight up. He First of all, he jumped out of the gym, but then his form was picture perfect, picture perfect. And I'm talking about, nobody really saw anything until like his junior and senior year. But in the sophomore year, you saw, he's like, this kid is going to be phenomenal because he jumped up and down on the dime. His jump shot was crazy. If you had to say, if there was anything that you had to say about his game that needed a little work, was his ball
Mm-hmm.
handling. But even that was getting better as
Right.
time
He
went
just kept
on.
getting better and
And
better.
by the time I left Maryland and graduated, he was just getting better and better and better and better and better, to the point where eventually his junior year, that's when he broke
Right.
out. That's when he broke out. And everybody starts seeing the limb bias that we all talk about even up
Right.
to this day.
So going into your
Yep.
senior year, what was your senior year experience like?
Senior year was was very surreal in terms of setting up my career. At that point, I knew that uh, I did not have the same feeling about
Mm-hmm.
playing as I did when I first came to Maryland, and it showed because I would get out there and play and play and play and play, but and I had spots when I was doing pretty well, but it was really at that time I had decided, you know what, and I actually say it was probably one of the lowest feelings basketball wise, because college I was determined I was going to be all right. I was
Right.
graduating. Okay, so it didn't matter. You know how when you start counting the
Yeah.
days.
And now I get to your
But
senior year,
anyway,
like, man, I'm
it
trying to
was a
finish
it
school.
was a right. The senior year wasn't great. There were things that transpired in my life at that time where I had made a few
Mm-hmm.
mistakes, but it's okay because it made me the man that I
Right.
am now. Okay, in order to be where you are, you're going to go through some
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and the greatest accomplishment was being able to have my mother and father and brother there, and my aunt, and to see them watch me as I walked across the stage and got my degree in government and
That's
politics. So, basketball wise, I had to say goodbye, but I got my degree.
that's what it's all about.
You know what I'm saying? I got my degree. So, yeah, yeah, I tell people all the time, um, if you go if you have the experience with college coaches, it doesn't really matter. It can be football, basketball, baseball, whatever. Coach steps into your living room, okay, and they talk about you coming to their school. One of the very first questions you should always ask them is, "What is your goal, okay, for my son, or what is your goal for me if I was to come to the school?" If they do not say within the first sentence or two that my first goal is to make sure you get a college degree. You might want to take second thoughts about going to that school unless you're going to be one of those one and done guys. And there's, as much as we see it now, it's very, it's really not
for everybody. It's not for everybody.
But if you go through, it's not for everybody, but you have to get that degree. And any coach worth his salt is going to see that it's important for his kids to graduate.
Absolutely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that, man. So yeah, man, I think we covered. Man, you named some legendary talent guys that you faced and went against, man, and definitely want to appreciate you, man, for taking out the time, man, to build and share, man. This is the first of many, man. We're gonna, like I said, I'm gonna be doing different stuff and having different topics. Definitely have you back on, man.
Yeah,
I appreciate you for sharing and taking the time, man.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man, definitely.
I thank you, man. And listen, man, no matter what, man, it's always love, man. And when you come back stateside, man, we're going to pick some time. Hopefully one day we can get together with our wives and go have a bite to eat. But if not, we're going to go to the fellas, get the fellas together. And we're going to go into the city and go to Jackson Hole and get one of them burger things. Those thick things.
Yo, give the family my love, and we'll definitely chop it up, man. I'm gonna edit this and light up, man.
All right, brother.
Man. Appreciate you, man.
All right,
man.
Much love, brother. Thank you, man. Peace, brother.
All right, peace.
All right. Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Signing off. You know what I'm saying? That's my guy, Real. That's my OG, man. You know what I'm saying? A lot of knowledge and wisdom. The storytelling is man, I crack up all the time, man. So that's my guy, man. So let's give it up for Real one time. Stopping through the show. Like I said, it's the Real Champ Talk podcast. I'm gonna get better with it. Having things flash across the screen. Subscribe to the channel. All right, Madhouse. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna share that link. You be able to get the merch. Look at the shorts too, man. Nice flavors, you know what I'm saying? Getting tuned, all that. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to everybody tuning in. Appreciate you guys. And I'm out, man. We're gonna sign out like that. RealChamTalk.
Yeah, look. And how I'm looking like you trying to